Stuff. Josh Gordon is no longer a New England Patriot. I think sad for the young man. He's probably been given his last opportunity in the National Football League. He is marvelously talented. He led the Patriots in yards. He was their only deep threat. He was their most athletic, strongest wide receiver. He had been all over the field since week 5. He was second on the team in snaps. He's done. You don't have to be honest with their deep threat anymore. They can't beat you vertically. The AFC is really, really talented. I think it's over for New England this year. They're going to be a running team and throw to their slot guy team. And I just don't think that's dynamic enough. And I don't know how their running game will do now because people will not respect them over the top. Josh Gordon was a real factor. This past week, they didn't use him. Something was going on in his personal life, and New England couldn't score. Their last 7 plays, once they passed midfield against Pittsburgh, they never targeted Josh Gordon, and they had no success. Peter King in 10 minutes. I want to throw this out to you. Pro Football Talk, a league source says that Jim Harbaugh, whatever he says, that a team is going to come hard after him. There's one team in the NFL that's going to come hard after him. I don't think any of these teams that it could be are a perfect fit. Denver may come hard after him. Who's their quarterback? I think the Jets could come hard after him, a total offensive rebuild. I think Cleveland and Tampa could come after him hard, but those franchises have a history of chaos. Green Bay may come after him hard. They're going to have very little cap space and very little flexibility when you pay your quarterback $33 million. I also think they have some rebuilding to do on defense. Arizona could come after him hard. That is a total rebuild staff and personnel. There are no ideal jobs. Because I think the 6 vacancies we're going to have are going to be Denver, Cleveland, Tampa, Arizona, Jets, and Green Bay. We know Green Bay. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why he would leave and 3 reasons why he would stay. And then I'll tell you my conclusion. Number 1, why he would leave. You're not winning a national title at Michigan. The rich get richer. The SEC, the footprint of the South, that's where the players are. You have to convince them to come up to cold weather in the North. Ohio State over the last 4 or 5 years is finding this out. Now Urban Meyer's gone. You're not winning a national title. You're going to see what's going to happen to Notre Dame against Clemson. The second thing is recruiting. Forget the baggage of the NCAA and boosters. Do you think Bill Belichick would want to recruit? Recruiting's a pain in the butt. How many apple pies can you eat at night trying to land a DB and fight over Clemson to get him? Number 3 is you were an absolute Super Bowl caliber coach, and you were, in my opinion, unjustly fired. You built a roster. You did a tremendous job, but you couldn't get along with your owner, Jed York, or your GM, Trent Baalke. Ed Werder talked about this yesterday. I still think he has an itch to go back to the NFL.
I mean, he built a great program with the 49ers. They seemed like they were set up with the Seahawks to go to the Super Bowl, for 5 or 6 year period. And then ultimately he had this other opportunity. There was some friction, obviously, in the front office between he and Trent Baalke. I think he would want to make sure he had more roster control and just overall control of the organization than he had there because of how it ended. But I have no doubt that Harbaugh will eventually coach in the NFL again.
Okay, here are the 3 reasons why he would stay. He's a Michigan guy. He quarterback there. He's a Bo Schembechler guy. It's his program. That's where his heart is. That's a real thing. Number 2, Urban Meyer is leaving. That conference is Jim Harbaugh and a bunch of good coaches. It is wide open now. Number 3 is you don't have to deal with an unpredictable billionaire. You have total autonomy, or at least 95% autonomy. You are the program. Like Nick Saban, you're the highest paid guy by 6 times on campus. You make the calls. You get a lot of autonomy. So there's 3 reasons why he would leave. There's 3 reasons why he would stay. My gut feeling is he's still very young and very dynamic. There is 20 years of coaching with Jim Harbaugh. I do not believe he's going to stay at Michigan for the next 16 to 20 years. I just do not. He did not make a run at the Indianapolis Colts job last year, which I thought was about as good as you could do. Between GM Chris Ballard, who's the GM of the year in the league, arguably, and between Andrew Luck, that's about as good as you can do in the NFL. You had the quarterback and the GM. Now, they have an impulsive owner. It's a little bit of a rebuild. But my feeling on this is every year somebody is going to come at Jim Harbaugh very hard, and he will eventually go. I do not think this year the teams line up perfectly. Cleveland's a very, very interesting job. Cap space, competent GM, not really a rebuild. There's a bunch of good players, young talent, cheap talent. But does he love Baker Mayfield? And Cleveland has a history of chaos. That's about as good a job out there. Now, the Jets have their quarterback, and they've got really good defensive players. But you have to literally go out and rebuild that offense. So I think Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan, but I don't think he's doing it this year. But according to Pro Football Focus, somebody is going to make a major run at him. My gut feeling is Green Bay, Cleveland. I kind of feel, remember this too, Joy, remember this. With Urban Meyer out of the Big Ten, Harbaugh's going to win more in the Big Ten. Translation, he's going to be even more prized, even more recruited by the NFL. Like right now, people are like, well, he hasn't won enough at Michigan. He's going to now be winning more games in the Big Ten. That's going to up his leverage. He's going to have more marquee value. And we're going to be looking at Harbaugh in a year or two saying, okay, he now dominates the Big Ten. He got to a Super Bowl. He made Stanford a big dog. He turned around his first job. So the longer he stays at Michigan without Urban Meyer, the more he wins, the more impressive he is, the better the resume. I think he's leaving Michigan. I don't think this year these jobs are good enough or perfect enough because he can wait on this puppy. He can really wait on the best available job because he's got a top 10 college job right now. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, the Eagles may have won the Super Bowl last year, but they've had quite an interesting season since then. They are 7-7 heading into the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
And thanks to Nick Foles, they had an impressive upset victory over the Rams last weekend, and Philly is still alive in their playoff hunt. And Doug Peterson seems to think that his squad might play better under pressure.
It seems you and the team are at your best when you count it out. What do you do to kind of handle that and channel that?
I just tell them we're still counted out. We understand, and we know where we're at and what we need to get done. It's no different than last week. It's a one game season for us, and it's a resilient group. Backs were against the wall. They came out and played well the other night, and we're going to need that again, this week.
So they play Houston this week, and then Washington.
I think they're going to win both. I do, and I think they're going to slip into the playoffs.
They are your team to slip in. They're on the outside looking in at 7-7. The Washington Redskins also at 7-7. So
this is my team in the NFL.
The Seahawks and the Vikings are ahead of them at this point.
Now, Seahawks are a better team, and they'll be in. I think the Vikings, I have a weird feeling, I think Detroit is upsetting the Vikings this weekend in the Motor City. I think Detroit's going to upset the Vikings, and Philadelphia. Listen, man, they say what you want. They got a Super Bowl winning coach. Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. Their pass rush is great. They got stars everywhere. This is a real football team. Now, they're not going to go to Chicago and win. I don't think they could go to Dallas and win. I don't think they could go to L.A. and win. I don't think they could go to New Orleans and win.
Didn't we say the same thing about them last year?
Well,
I mean, they were playing differently last year. They had a little more momentum. But after Carson Wentz went down last year, it was like, this season is over. Yeah. Nick Foles is never going to be able to continue to carry them. And he won the Super Bowl and won Super Bowl MVP. I don't know. It's just a weird... it's weird timing for all of this. So I'm not going to count them out.
There's a team that sneaks into the playoffs every year. You can go the last 20 years. There's a team where, like, how did they get in? That came from nowhere. They don't feel like a playoff team. Philadelphia, to me.
They don't feel like a playoff team, even though they should.
Injuries, chaos, losing streaks, can't win the big games. They don't feel like it. I think they win their next two. Minnesota loses on the road to Detroit, and Philadelphia is going to sneak in.
And then you're going to have big conversations about Nick Foles next year. It's time now for The Real Deal, brought to you by Hardee's and Carl's Jr. And Baker Mayfield is the real deal, Colin.
Oh, boy.
He has no love for former Browns coach Hugh Jackson, and that's okay. Here's Baker yesterday telling us once again that he does not regret his words at all.
Oh, boy.
No, I said what I said. It's another week, but we got to hit the reset button. We got to be able to come in, block out the distractions, block out the outside noise like we have week to week every time this season, and be able to do our job. Football's an angry, violent game. If you play anything but pissed off, I don't think you're doing it right. But if you're playing fiery, emotional, which is how I do it, just focused, determined, Just a little extra motivation.
I just wish he'd stop talking about it, but it's fine.
I have no problem with this.
I do. I don't. I think I think it's just no good to burn bridges. I don't think that's good.
Look, normally I'm